You're going to get that on a nightly basis.
Absolutely.
Speaking of that, the program that Noah will be taking a look at next, UTEP, same exact thing, physical and tough, Noah.
Well, Matt, I know you love a good drive. I've got one for you. We're heading 11 hours across the state of Texas and making a stop in El Paso to talk about this UTEP Miners team. They were 12-19 a year ago, losing in the quarterfinals in Huntsville. This year, picked 7th in the preseason poll, and this is a new-look roster. 9 new players, including 5 freshmen. They lost All-Conference USA first-teamer Jana Cindy, the second-teamer Aaron Wilson to graduation, but a ton of intriguing newcomers. Portia Adams comes over from Lamar. She was a 13-plus point per game scorer 2 years ago. And multiple JUCO prospects should be a lot of exciting pieces. You pair that with Luisa Vydrova, who we'll talk to in a moment. Exciting times upcoming in UTEP. Their non-conference schedule features matchups with UTSA, BYU in El Paso. They're going to take a trip to Colorado State before opening Conference USA play versus Louisiana Tech on January 2nd. Well, we are excited now to be joined by Miners head coach Keitha Adams and sophomore forward Luisa Vydrova. Thanks for coming on to the show, guys.
Good to see you. We're glad to be here.
Well, let's jump right into things here. Coach, this is your second season at the helm. You're coming back to this program. When you look at the offseason, what was the biggest emphasis for you and this team?
Well, we had to work hard on recruiting. It was a really busy spring, and even the process in the summer, getting our new players eligible, admitted. It was quite a process with us having as many international players as we have. But it's an exciting time. We worked, our returners worked on their weaknesses and things they needed to work on this off season. And now we're all here and we're rolling. So it's fun, and they're a great group, and it's going to be an exciting season.
Well, Coach, I hate to bring it up, but you lost your top 3 scorers from a year ago, 2 to graduation, 1 to transfer. When you look at this team, who are some people that are going to step into those scoring roles for this Miners squad?
Well, I'm really expecting a lot from our returners. Yvonne, Delma, both those guards played a lot for us last year. And both of them came from junior colleges. I think that, sometimes it takes a year to get a year. When you have JUCO players. And then Lou and Dunya both being freshmen, they got quite a bit of experience as freshman post. So those 4 players played a lot for us. So there's a core there that we're going to depend on a lot to show our newcomers how we do things. And then Thelma redshirted last year, and I think she's a really, really good shooter. And so those 5 players are going to have to give good leadership. And we're really excited about our newcomers, so it's just blending them together.
Coach, I mentioned the 9 newcomers off the top. For those who are going to tune in and watch a Miners game this year or come out and watch it, what are you expecting to be the identity of this year's squad?
Well, we've really put an emphasis on, high energy, toughness, and grit. I mean, we're working hard in practice, and we're doing things to learn those qualities and to have those qualities, especially when it's at the toughest times. When things get really hard, are you going to rise up? And we've been working on our defense a lot. We've really been trying to learn a lot about our players. We've got so many new pieces that we're trying to scrimmage daily so I can watch them and get a feel, and they can get a feel for each other. But we're going to play hard, and we're going to get after it.
Definitely hoping for a big leap here in year number 2. Another person we're hoping from a big leap for in year number 2. She's sitting next to you, Luisa Vydrova. Had a big freshman season, a massive tournament. What impressed you with her freshman year?
Well, I think the great thing was as the year progressed, her confidence grew. I think she became more and more comfortable. For freshmen, whether you're international or coming from high school in the States, going to Division I, it is an adjustment. The speed of the game, the physicality of the game, and how hard you have to work. I mean, this level is an extremely intense level, and to be successful, you got to really bring it. And I think that for the international player, a pick and roll is a pick and roll, no matter where you're from. But the game is officiated differently, and there are some things that you have to adjust. And so we had to work through that. But Lou really stepped up and gave us good production as she got more and more confident as the season progressed. And we're looking for her to just take off from where she left.
Luisa, now Coach mentioned it. You grew up in the Czech Republic. You're away from family for the first time last year. What was the most challenging part about the transition stateside for you?
Probably adjusting to the system. A lot of things are different, so I have to figure it out how to do it and how to be on my own, which was, as you said, for the first time. But we had a great group last year, so they helped me, and yeah, I adjusted.
I got to know, have you found any good Czech food in El Paso?
No, I did not, but I'm trying to learn how to cook so I can make my
We'll definitely have to stop by there for that food once you get all of that put together. But Luisa, you really put it together down the stretch last year. You score 13 points per game over your last 6. Was it you becoming more comfortable? What clicked at the end of last season for you?
I think I grabbed the opportunity that coach gave me, and I didn't let her down, and I slowly become more confident, and I just maintain the high level, and I try to show everyone what I can do. And yeah, and I gain her trust. I become more confident, and
well, excited to see. Yeah, excited to see what year number 2 looks like for you. Now, we've talked about all the newcomers on this roster, and this is the most diverse in terms of background in the league. There's a lot of people from different countries. How do you guys all come together and hang out off the court? What does that look like?
Oh, I feel like we have a great group, even though we have 10 internationals, but we have really good team spirit. I love to hang out with them, and we hang out really often. So even though we are different, like each person, because we are not from the same country, we kind of like it. We match our energy, and I'm really glad for these girls because
they laugh a lot. They laugh a lot. And they dance a lot.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just have to. Well, Coach Adams, Luisa, thank you so much for your time today. Best of luck. Stay healthy, and we'll see you out on the court shortly.
Thank you. Good seeing you today.
Absolutely. Well, let's get back over to the studio now. Matt Warner, Kelly Deo standing by with some thoughts on the UTEP Miners.
Yeah, so El Paso not known for its Czech food. We found that out during that interview, yeah. Keitha Adams, her second tenure there at UTEP. She's won there before. She's won big there before. With so many new pieces, how do you see them taking a step forward this season?
Well, first of all, they've got 5 freshmen, and you don't see that a lot, especially in the day of the transfer portal. But I think it really speaks to the fact that she develops players. She doesn't want kids necessarily that have come in from other systems. She wants to teach them, and you can't hurry up that process of laying the foundation. And, you know, she has won. Her championships came 4 years apart, 08, 12, 16. It tells you that she is building a group so that by year 4, she's trying to put a championship caliber team out there.
You always want to see your young players show progress throughout a season, right? And certainly we saw that Luisa Vydrova last year, the way she finished out the year. What excites you about her coming back for a second season? And was that that was a nice little 6-game stretch, or is it something you think can continue in her sophomore campaign?
No, I think that absolutely bolstered her for this coming sophomore season. And, you know, you can tell there's a lot of confidence in her game. She got into the weight room this summer, worked on her conditioning. They're going to need her to get some more rebounds. I mean, losing Jana Sinde, she was the most athletic player in this conference. And to lose her, those are big shoes to fill. And Luisa Vydrova, an excellent player, can hit from long range, which we saw. And I just love hearing her talk about the way that this team is coming together despite the youth.
Yeah, despite the youth and despite so many different backgrounds. You've been a coach in a locker room with teams like this before. How difficult can that be, just the different personalities, the different backgrounds these athletes bring to the table?
You know, I think you can look at it like that would be difficult, and especially when you're talking about different languages, those barriers that come into that. But it's one of the most incredible things to see a group of people come together. You know, I know I've been a part of teams where they just, you know, different foods that they make, they have a big spread, and so that everyone can appreciate where each of these players come from.
Well, it's going to be exciting to see how they come together here this season, and we'll make the turn now to the UTEP men who finished the year strong this past year in the tournament. With more on that, we send it back to Noah.
Well, guys, I don't know about you, but all this food talk, it's getting me ready for dinner already. I'm getting hungry. But let's talk now about this UTEP Miners men's basketball team. This is a program that gained a lot of valuable experience last year. They go 18-16, though losing in the championship game. This year coming in tied for 5th with Liberty in the preseason polling. They're bringing back 10 players, one of just 3 teams to do that in the league. They bring in some impact additions, Devin Barnes, Ahmad Bynum, to name a few. You pair that with some young talent, David Terrell, Trey Horton, Elijah Jones, and this is a UTEP team clearly on the rise. They have a difficult non-conference schedule. They're going to face Long Beach State, Akron, and Yale, all 3 in the NCAA tournament a season ago before opening Conference USA play versus preseason favorite Louisiana Tech on January 2nd. And we are excited to be joined by UTEP Miners head coach Joe Golding and their preseason all-conference forward Otis Frazier III. Guys, thanks for coming on the show today.
Hey, thanks for having us. Appreciate it.
Well, guys, let's jump right in because last season you guys were as hot as any team down the stretch. You guys make the run to the championship game, ultimately coming up just short. But how much was that valuable experience worth to this team heading into this season?
Yeah, I think it's extremely valuable, especially bringing back as many guys as we did on this year's team to experience that. You know, sometimes you got to go through trials and tribulations. You don't get immediate success when you get there. You got to feel it and you got to experience it. And I think it's definitely motivated this team this summer and fall as we get ready for the season. It's a different team. It's a different journey. There's no guarantees that you're going to get back. But I definitely think that experience helped us and obviously playing well to finish the season.
Coach, you mentioned it, and it's a rarity in college basketball to bring back as many guys as you have, 10 in total here. What was the reasoning? Why did all of these guys recommit to this UTEP program and coming back to El Paso?
Yeah, I think a big reason was this guy sitting over here beside me right here, right? You know, he's a leader. He's immediately after the game when we lost, we got back, fortunately or unfortunately, in our business now. As soon as the season ends, there's a lot of business that has to be talked about, right? There's a lot of one-on-one meetings that you have with your players, and you know, we're no different than I'm assuming every other program in the country. We want what's best for our student athletes, and Otis did a great job with circling our team of all the guys that could return, and said, hey, let's come back. We have a great opportunity next year to get better and finish the job. And I think Otis saw that with Florida Atlantic a couple years ago when they brought everybody back. You saw what Sam did the previous season when they brought a bunch back, what they were able to do last year with a bunch of returners. And he was a big leader with that group. But I think all of our group, they felt like there was some unfinished business left on the table last year, including in conference play, right? We went 7-9 in conference play. We didn't have the conference season that we wanted to have. And there's a lot of unfinished business that these guys wanted to come back and accomplish.
Well, I'll just go ahead and say you guys are one of my dark horses in the conference this season. Coach, when you look at this group collectively heading into this season, what do you expect to be some of the strengths for this unit?
You know, defensively is where we hang our hat, right? You know, and that's not going to change here at UTEP. Hopefully we're sound defensively. We again have a lot of returners, so that ought to help us on the defensive end. I'm a little frustrated right now with our defense in practice. We got to get a lot better, but a big reason for that is we've spent a ton of time in the summer and the fall on the offensive side of the ball. You know, we were one of the worst three-point shooting teams in the country, and then we didn't value the basketball. We took the basketball from people, but we gave it right back to them. And so, you know, those are the two areas that we've got to get better at. You know, we got to become a better three-point shooting team. I think we've done that through development in our program with these guys that came back, and I think we also fixed that in recruiting. So excited about that. Hopefully we can score the ball better from the outside and create more space. And then again, we have to value the basketball. We got to take care of the basketball, and our assist to turnover ratio has to get better.
Well, Coach, we know you're never frustrated with Otis Frazier's defense because he's one of the best defenders in this league. But, Coach, outside of his defense, what are your favorite parts of Otis's game?
First of all, he's a great human being, man. I just enjoy being around him. He's been here for 3 years with me, so he's kind of grown up around me. He came from George Mason, and he's really evolved and developed into a hell of a player for us. You know, he's an everyday guy. You know, I know every time the ball gets tipped, Otis is going to compete for 40 minutes. He can guard anybody 1 through 5. You know, he takes the toughest defensive assignment each and every game. And he's a glue guy. You know, we don't run a lot of sets for Otis Frazier, but he never gripes or complains about it. He finds a way to score the basketball through cutting, getting on the offensive glass. We'll run a few things for him this year. You know, that was part of the deal, getting him back. I told him I'd run a few plays for him. But you know, he's unselfish. He's an unselfish kid. all he wants to do is win. And, where he's growing for us is in the leadership. He's really grown as a leader. You can see it last year towards the end of the season. You can see his leadership growing in the locker room. And this is his team this year. We've got 5 seniors, and Otis is the leader of that group. Obviously, David Terrell is also coming on with some leadership stuff as well. But we have 5 seniors. That doesn't happen a lot, that have all coming back for their senior year. And Otis is definitely the leader of that group.
Otis, let's stick on that point because you're a guy who naturally likes to lead by example, but your coach has asked you to be more of a vocal leader this year. What does that process look like for you?
It's been a little difficult, honestly. I'm not really a vocal guy, like you said. I was pretty quiet over the years. It's taking some time to grow up and understand what the team needed. Talking to him every day, talking to GAs every day, Reggie Miller. It's been hard, obviously, but I know the team needs it, and that's kind of what I've been focused on this whole summer and for the rest of the season.
Now, Otis, you're a guy on the basketball court that does a lot of things extremely well. Obviously, defense is the calling card, the one people know you about, but you score the basketball really well. You're a talented rebounder. What is your favorite thing to do on a basketball court?
Honestly, I think what gets me going, to get ready to play, when we have a guy that's a really good offensive player, that gets me going pretty much before the game, focused throughout the week, through drills, through everything. Defense is probably the thing that gets me going the most.
Hey, it's easy to get up for a good defensive play there, but Otis, last year.
That's why we're such a good fit, right?
Exactly. You got to fit together there. But Otis, last year's team, there was a lot of young guys, and Coach already touched on several of them, and they played a big role for you guys making it to that championship game. As an older guy, one of the older guys on this roster, what has impressed you about how they have come in and contributed from day one?
I think what surprised me the most is how well they were ready to play. If you look at Trey Horton, he stepped in last year, the conference tournament, he hadn't really played all well. He didn't play all season. He stepped in, he played great. David Terrell had a great year. I think this year they've obviously grown up a little. Obviously, as freshmen do. Just the taking the leaps that they've taken, maturity and all that, I think that's what's been biggest for the youngest guys.
Well, certainly that is scary to think about for the rest of the league. As I said, you're a dark horse for me. Excited to see what you guys bring this season. Coach Golding, Otis, thanks for taking some time to come on the Conference USA Basketball Tip-Off Show.
Appreciate you.
Appreciate you guys.
Well, we are continuing on. Let's jump back over to the studio now. Matt Warner, Paul Nazigan standing by for some thoughts on this El Paso men's basketball team.
Yeah, and as we were there in Huntsville, we saw UTEP get hot in the Conference USA Championship. What was it that flipped for them during that tournament, and is it something they can build off of moving forward?
Yeah, they had a rough start. I mean, they were one of those teams that were really negatively impacted by injuries early and a road stretch to start conference that would kind of dug them into a hole. But you got to credit Coach Golding and the guys for staying together and not getting discouraged. They just kept grinding, and they hit their stride the last couple of weeks. They were hot going in. And, I mean, to get to the championship game out of the 5 spot, the 5 seed, just shows that, the quality and parity of Conference USA. So while that is all fun and exciting to make the championship game, you cannot underestimate the value of that, of those guys going through that experience, the maturity, just being in big games like that, and then the belief now that again, you got belief when the huge number of guys come back again. What happened last year or 6 months ago will pay dividends for them this year.
You use the word grinding. They're used to grinding opposing offenses well, right? Led the nation in steals, led the nation in turnovers, force. Are they one of the toughest teams to prepare for in a one-game setting?
Yeah, it's very hard to prepare for because you can't mimic what they do, at the level they do it in practice. And they make you change kind of what you do and speed up and second guess some of that stuff. So it's hard to play against. With their turnovers, but Coach Golding mentioned it. They got a couple big areas to clean up. They have to cut down their turnovers and shoot the ball a little better. But again, from everything we've heard from them, they're having a great summer. They're going to clean up those areas. And again, there's another team that could be right up there in March when all's said and done.
Absolutely. You talked about tough open to the season last year. They start with 3 straight home games in conference play, so a chance to get off to a much better start here this year.
Yeah, especially, you got some younger guys. And again, they've added some new pieces too. Coach talks about continuity. Yeah. And again, bringing that group back, knowing each other. The big fella there is a great leader and a great anchor to what they do. And 3 home games, man, that's a great way to start. They could be off and running.